everybody, Edo here, and today I want to talk about fulfillment. Actually, I want to talk about fulfillment again because I have done a couple of videos related to this, and I feel like over time, fulfillment options and approaches change, as well as what you're looking to do as a creator or a publisher, and how you want to get your games to your customers. So I want to talk about things that I'm specifically doing, though there are an even broader range of options for sure. Back in my first campaign, Liftoff, Get Me Off This Planet, I did a video, I'll link it, where I talked about the fulfillment I did there, which was somewhat robust for your first campaign. Game was manufactured in China, and then 90% of worldwide went to, no, not 90% at that time, sort of Europe went to a company called Spiral Galaxy Games. I believe they're still doing fulfillment, though I'm not working with them, but for no fault of their own. And that was that. Then I used a company called Agility, which was based out of China, or at least picked up in China, and they took care of Asia and Australia. And I had like a whiteboard in that original video and shorter hair. But, and then on the United States side, I did a combination of a company called Ascendia for most of the US, and then I took care of a couple weird bundled packages, or like, sort of the special case boxes, myself, from my house, and then also took care of, I believe, Canada and South America at the time. So lots of coordination, lots of stuff. I do recommend that video because I'm in front of a whiteboard. It does a good job. But then over the years, I switched it up a little bit. What I ended up doing was I moved from Spiral Galaxy to Games Quest, who I'm still using now, and I think at the time was really just, they had a nice deal and they were really trying to get off the ground, and I tried them out. And I actually started having them do all of worldwide, including Australia and including these other places. I wasn't using Agility anymore. And then for the United States, and perhaps United States and Canada, depended on the campaign, I handled those all directly. And I have a second video you can watch, which is the fulfillment, I think, of Herbaceous and, what was it? Herbaceous and Heroes and Tricks, where I show what it's like to be printing and mass shipping from your house. Right, so I'd gone through all these different processes, and this year, I'm currently in the process of fulfilling Legendary Creatures and Sunset Over Water, two super cool games. If you aren't familiar with them, once these copies get out, they will be hitting retail, but if you're a backer, here's what I'm doing. I made a couple of changes this year, not huge ones. So for Europe and Australia and Asia, I am using Games Quest. They've done a very nice job. They're growing. They're getting more and more busy, which is always, when your partners are doing well, it's both a good thing, but a bad thing. When you're their only client, you get a lot of attention. As they get busier and bigger, it becomes a concern. But so far, no reason to be concerned. They are getting ramped up and beginning their process. And so I had the factory ship the games to them, and then they did a second shipment to the States. And this year, I'm using Fun Again to do the shipment. If you go back to that video, and you've seen some subsequent videos, doing Sunset Over Water, which was like a huge campaign from home, like, some near permanent damage to my family. But no, it was just a ton of work, and Sunset Over Water was a successful campaign, as was Legendary Creatures, and we just don't have I live in a small place, and we just don't have the kind of bandwidth and space to deal with it. I was looking at a couple of different U.S. fulfillment, Fun Again, this Quartermaster, and ultimately I decided to go with Fun Again because there was an opportunity where they had a good relationship to handle Canada through some partnerships, and then with Impressions, who house my sort of retail stuff after I get through backers, they could sort of take the shipment from Asia and then pass it along and freight it along to Aldo and Impressions pretty swiftly. So felt like it would be faster, be cost effective, and I decided to go that way. Couple interesting things. So one, for Europe, bunch of stuff got there, but then I also had to ship stuff from here. I was looking at DHL. I ended up going with Priority USPS, was all these games, like there were some combos of Legendary Creatures that had like the Siblings Trouble or Heroes and Tricks or some of the other games, and I had to get those to Europe to get bundled in to not have to deal with that. We're still dealing with that, but so that the end user isn't, or the player, and so I had to ship that package off to them and deal with it and manage it. And that's not cheap. Shipping a bunch of games internationally, not by freight, is not cheap, but it was all calculated in. But so that had to go out that way. And the other interesting thing, and I'm still getting some copies here, so Fun Again's shipped me a shipment I have now of about 100 games that I have to make, like the Super Bundle Awesome Packs. That the ones that are being done in Europe, I ship them their stuff, but I'm doing the ones here rather than like shipping it up to Fun Again and having them ship. Like it's fine. The other interesting thing, as things go, is Fun Again recently announced that they're no longer taking on new fulfillment work. So fortunately, I'm inside that window, outside that window. They are very happily and competently working on and delivering this package, but they're not going to be an option in the future. So that's what it looks like for me. I mean, so I sort of ran through it, but I have product being manufactured in China that's being split into two parts. One is US, Canada, the other is worldwide. Games Quest is handling worldwide. I had to send them some special stuff, and then Fun Again is handling US and Canada, and they're shipping me some stuff for some special bundle, cool packages and stuff where I need to get a bunch of stuff from here. At this point, my volume has gotten to the point where I can't just handle it on my own. And some of these international decisions help me be effective for dealing with things like that for Europe, as well as just being cost effective. Because of the way and the volume that Fun Again uses and some of the other fulfillment centers uses, you're paying comparable to what the typical homegrown approach would be, which is using a small flat rate box or medium flat rate box. Like, if that's your home approach, one of these other services cost a little bit more because you need to pay them to pack the thing, but end up being about the same because they get a slightly better rate on. So if they're like $1 a package to pack it up or whatever, they're going to save that buck on shipping, so it's net about the same, maybe even a little better. It just depends on what you're doing. Now, along with, so that's what I'm doing. For future campaigns like Heroes Welcome, Herbaceous Sprouts, Skull Hollow, I'm going to have to figure out what I'm going to do in the States again, and continue to see how Game Quest is going as they keep becoming bigger and bigger. But other than that, I feel good about this setup. I think if I had a small campaign that came in just by itself and it was back to 400 or 500 units or something really small, perhaps I would do it from home again. I mean, the home thing is very doable. It's just time consuming and you need the space. Watch that video. If you're a Kickstarter creator and you're looking at this space and it's daunting, I recommend a few things. One, ask other creators what they're doing, find out their history. Don't use a single partner who you haven't gotten a reference from, somebody who worked with them recently. I cannot stress that enough. These guys are handling your baby. Make sure they're good, and they're good lately. Fulfillment and moving stuff around, and all this stuff is tough, and there are a lot of different dynamics, and somebody who is great might not no longer be great. Somebody who's the best price might not be the best price, and it's just essential to have a reference. One. Two, really think through and understand on paper the logistics. Once you've sort of thought through, just again, it's not too simple, but on a piece of paper, right? Like really quick. Like this seems silly, and you can't see. I guess you can't see the table, right? But you're gonna say, here is where the packages start. And then this goes here, this goes here, and then this goes to these places. Like, do something like that, right? Like something super simple. And then start looking at and breaking down the cost associated with each of those lines, the backer numbers with each of those lines, and breaking it out. I need to know and look at where all my backers are and where how many copies I need to send to each place and coordinate it. That's something you may need to make sure everyone understands. So doing it on paper goes a long way. Also, understanding what format and ways each company wants to see the backer information for fulfillment, like the addresses, where they're sending it to, is really a big deal. GamesQuest wants it in a very different format than Fun Again Games does, and they're not all easy to make. I mean, like, they take time. If you're not like a spreadsheet junkie, you're gonna want to become one. I don't use BackerKit or any other fulfillment or Pledge Manager. Pledge Manager is another one I get, right? But I don't use any of them. So I still use the raw data from Kickstarter that comes in when people do their Kickstarter surveys. So references. Make a map and do the numbers. 3, and I mean this in the nicest way, no one cares about your game as much as you do. That doesn't mean they don't care. That doesn't mean they're not going to do a good job. But they have other projects, other things going on, other dynamics. You're the one responsible for making sure every single backer gets their game, gets the information they need, and has a fantastic experience than playing it. That's hopefully already resolved. But so, following up, when you're working with partners, get them on the phone, get them on Skype, be thorough, be clear, make sure everyone understands the date, coordinate. You need to filter that through backers via updates, but I just don't, like, if supply chain, operations, this is just a category of stuff where you can't assume things are going to go right. You really need to assume things are going to go wrong. And you need to think about all the places things can go wrong and adjust them. So hopefully, again, this was it wasn't a broader view. It was more specific to the projects I'm working on. But hopefully it helps you appreciate and understand those steps and helps you as a creator look at it. If you happen to be somebody who backed Sunset Over Water or Legendary Creatures, thank you. And hopefully this was interesting, and games should be on their way in the coming weeks. Hey everybody, Edo here, and thanks for watching Gaming with Edo. Reviews over here on this playlist, League and Insider videos over here on this one. Subscribe, share, all that good stuff. But most importantly, play some great games. Thanks. Bye.